In this video I'm going to be testing the new Schneider Samyang 14 to 24mm lens. It's a new idea, having a collaboration between Schneider and Samyang. Now Samyang are known for their great quality budget lenses, Korean made, really well designed, quite lightweight, so I've always been attracted to them. And I owned a 35mm f2.8, which is a good lens. But this new lens is a collaboration between a Schneider, which are a German optics company, and Samyang, and it's the most expensive lens they've ever produced, I believe. And it's pretty well built. I mean, it's quite plasticky, so I think if I dropped it, it might be in trouble. But it's got my beloved AF/MF switch. I can't stand lenses that don't have that. And its best feature, I think, for a 14 to 24mm lens is that it can accept screw-in filters on the front, 77mm. Normally these sort of wide lenses have a very bulbous front element, whereas this is really nicely designed. And it's so lightweight, which is ideal for an old fogey like me. Now I've never owned a lens this wide before. I don't tend to like the very wide focal lengths, because if you go beyond 17mm, it's quite hard to actually get a good composition, because you end up with your main subject being pushed too far back in the frame. So I've never really bothered, but I saw a picture the other day and it had a huge sky on it, and I really love big skies. And I thought, well, you know, it might be my last lens purchase for a while, so I'm going to try it out. So I was going to get the Sony 12 to 24mm G Master, but when I looked at the price, and I thought, oh, it's nearly $2,000, it's a lot of money. And I just thought it's just a bit too risky just to see if I actually like it or not. So when I heard about this, I was quite excited, because I used to own Schneider lenses back in the day when I had medium format digital cameras and large format 5x4 film cameras, because Schneider make great lenses for those, and they were so sharp. I was always excited to be using them. So I thought this is going to be an ideal collaboration, and I watched the Christopher Frost review of this lens. Now Christopher Frost is a British reviewer, and he does great lens reviews, really in depth. I'm not going to be doing a technical review. I'm just doing a kind of field test, because I want to see how this performs. So if you want a more technical review, please do look at his YouTube review. Do you test your lenses? Because you should test them as soon as you buy them. Because what happened to me once was, I was just about to go on holiday to the Isles of Scilly, and I bought a new Canon 24 to 70mm lens to go on my Sony camera, because I had an adapter for it to go on my Sony camera, because I still had mainly Canon lenses. And of course, unsuspectingly, I was taking all these shots on my holiday thinking, wow, this is great, and I was loving using the new lens, only to find, to my horror, when I got back and looked at all the images, they were really soft mid-frame. I was totally shocked. So I sent the lens back to Canon, and they had to repair it twice. It came back and it still had the same fault, so that was pretty awful of them. It goes to show that you should test your lenses as soon as you buy them, because you never know whether you're going to get a bad copy or not. So I was determined, once I bought this brand new Schneider Samyang 14 to 24mm lens, to test it out thoroughly during the first week or so, to make sure that there are no issues with it. And I'm pleased to say there aren't any issues with it at all. It works perfectly and is a very good lens. I'll explain why in this video. So I'm testing this new lens out now, and the best place to test it is a flat brick wall like this. Dead boring photography subject, but it's really good for testing the corners, seeing how they compare. So I'm going to compare this lens, which goes from 14 to 24mm, at 14mm, 20mm and 24mm, and then I'll be able to compare that to my other two lenses, which cover some of those focal lengths. And now I've got the Sony 20 to 70mm f4 G lens on, which I can obviously compare to this new Schneider Samyang lens at 20mm and 24mm, but I'm also going to test this at 50mm and 70mm. And I wish I'd done this when I first bought it, because I got a feeling there's a slight problem with this lens. The reason I don't think I've noticed the fault before is because most of the pictures I shoot are landscape, and so therefore the sky obviously has virtually no detail in it at all, so you can't tell whether that top left-hand corner is actually faulty or not. Whereas I've taken a few shots recently and I'm thinking, it doesn't look quite right. It looks a bit too smudgy, and you know, quite a long way in from the corner. So I wish I'd tested that lens now when I first got it. We'll see. So obviously this is a completely independent review of this lens. I paid for it myself. I've got no affiliation with Schneider Samyang, and I'm just going to be completely unbiased in talking about it. So this is at 24mm, and obviously it's a video, so the ratio is 16:9, so it's actually wider than this if you put it into 3:2 ratio. And then we go to 20mm, which is another popular focal length, and then 17mm, another popular focal length, and then finally 14mm, and it's quite a bit wider, as you can see. At 14mm f2.8, it's acceptably sharp in the centre. It improves at f4, and it improves again at f8 and f5.6. And at f11 it starts to go softer the other way because you're getting the effects of diffraction. So as usual, I'll probably be using this lens at f8 most of the time. It's the same story throughout the focal lengths with this lens, so I don't want to bore you with looking at loads more brick walls. So you'll have to look at my face instead. At f2.8 it is acceptably sharp in all the corners at all focal lengths, and it definitely improves at f4 with more contrast as well. And then you get a very slight improvement at f5.6. Then at f8 it's perfectly fine as well. But then at f11 it starts to go downhill again because of diffraction. So it's a really good result throughout the focal lengths of this lens, although I'd say it's weakest at 14mm and surprisingly strongest at 24mm. So let me just tell you how the other lenses compared. The Tamron 17 to 28mm came close at 20mm and 24mm, but the Schneider Samyang definitely had the edge in terms of sharpness. The Sony 20 to 70mm lens at 20mm and 24mm was just as sharp as the other lenses in the centre, but definitely fell off badly into the corners. So that lens is great for its versatility, but if you want ultimate sharpness in the corners, I would say look elsewhere. The Tamron is close to the Schneider Samyang, and obviously it's a 17 to 28, so it's a different kind of focal length altogether, but it's a very good performance for such a budget lens. So this is the 14mm focal length on this lens. It's the widest I've ever owned. I'm not sure if it's going to be very complimentary or not. It might make my nose look pretty big. When I found these grasses, I really wasn't expecting a 14mm focal length to be of any use. But here it is, and I like it. It's really good. I'll try and do the same thing with a 17mm, just in case I could have done it with the other lens. So I'll zoom out to 17mm now. And I'll try moving the tripod back. Yeah, you can kind of, but then I don't like the bit on the top right. It's kind of gone dark on the top right. Yeah, I'm really impressed with this focal length so far, and I really wasn't expecting to be. Just love wildflowers by the sea. Fantastic. Hopefully you can hear the waves. So this is at 21mm. Obviously it's including a lot of the flowers, which is good, but it's thrown the headland into such a tiny little distant aspect. So 21mm at 14mm. Wow, you get so much in, but everything's so far away. So I made myself this makeshift mask, which I'm going to put over the screen to help me compose a very wide angle panoramic kind of shot. And it's good because it's making me think differently about composition. So thanks for that. So at 14mm, it's amazingly wide. It's quite hard to compose, but I've actually managed to get a shot. I'll show you what I got through my viewfinder. And putting this over, it's quite remarkable what you can get. I wasn't expecting this to be actually any good, but I like this shot, I think. Wait till I see it back in the office, I guess. It needs some more light, but sadly the sun's gone behind a cloud now. Yes, the only trouble is 14mm is so wide. This is 24mm. I mean, trying to get a shot here is absolutely ridiculous. So if I zoom out now to 14mm, you can see how crazy wide it is. I mean, it's good for some things, like if there was a really great sky at the moment, I could just point the camera up. Actually, that is better anyway, I think, because that cloud up there makes it a bit more of a composition. But really, everything's just so far away, and this has always been my complaint with even a 17mm focal length. But I'm going to carry on and try and get more shots with the 14mm focal length, just to see if it's for me or not. So now I want to see how this lens does with flare. So we've got direct sun coming in, although it's fairly low sun. And I'm overexposing this video by 2 stops. So I guess that gives me a good idea of what the flare is going to look like. It looks pretty good for now. This is at 14mm focal length. Now I'm going to, excuse the camera if it just jogs a little bit, because I'm going to bring the exposure down now and go to 0. So that's the recommended exposure, which I don't like as much. Right, and I'm going to take a still there as well, just to see what that looks like. But I think I might overexpose it by 2 stops just to see what it looks like in the corners. See if we get any chromatic aberration, which is, you know, purple fringing around things like the leaves and the branches. And that's at 24mm, and you can still see the flare there on the bottom left corner of the frame. This is at plus 1.3 on this video camera. So if I take it down to 0, yeah, it's still there, of course. This could be one of the best things I've ever done for my photography. Not talking about the lens this time, talking about the brilliant mask I made. I think I've found a good use for this 14mm focal length after all. So it's the Triscore Islands, which are just off Porthcothan, and I never managed to get them in with my 20mm focal length lens. So here I am at 14mm and I can just about get them all in. So this could be really useful, the 14mm focal length, for doing those extra wide panos where you just want to crop the top and the bottom off the picture. Therefore you don't have any problem with vignetting or anything like that, so you're just cropping off the worst parts of the photo anyway. That's when I love having a 61 megapixel camera. So I know I've got plenty of resolution. I'll never need to take that photo again because it can print really, really big. Now here's my first chance to try an ND filter. So I've got a 77mm B&W ND filter. It's not super slim, so it'll be interesting to see what the vignetting's like on this lens. To be fair to this lens, I'm going to take the hood off because that might cause some vignetting. As I'm shooting straight into the sun anyway, the hood isn't doing anything, so screw this on. Always put a bit on your neck first so it screws off easy. Slightly greasy neck. I did have a shower this morning. Don't give me a hard time. I probably stink, but you know, besides the point. No, pretty good for no antiperspirant. Doing a great advert for a new girlfriend, aren't I? Tony doesn't use deodorant. No, I don't. Right, we've got a 10-stop filter, but I do wash myself frequently. You don't want to know all this, I'll shut up now. That's cheered me up a bit. I had to pay for parking just now, £2.10. I was a bit miffed. Probably cost me about £8 to get here in petrol. I'm so glad I got here nice and early, so I've taken several shots, had a nice chat with some friendly people. They're all friendly along the cliffs, aren't they? And yeah, it's beautiful. The sun's turning into a nice golden ball now. There's absolutely no cloud. There hasn't been any cloud all day. But it's still going to be good, I think, because I'm going to get that sunlight glinting on the water effect that I really like with long exposures. And yeah, very happy chap. I took a shot through some sea pinks, but they were well over, so they finished flowering, you know, a couple of weeks ago. So I'm not that keen on dead flowers, so I might not use that one. So I found another one now, which is these flowers of the plantain, they're called, not the banana one, the other one. There's two types of plantain. Oops, sorry, there's two types of plantain. Anyway, I'll show you that shot now.